Hello subscribers and bell clickers, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Automobilista 2, where in this video I'm going to go over our version 1.5 and Adrenaline Pack Part 1 DLC findings after we did our 10-hour live stream the other day. This video is for those of you that missed the live stream. I mean, if you could have watched it live, if you were a subscriber, you wouldn't have missed it. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to load into one of the cars here and just have a nice 5-lap race whilst talking about it. So it's going to be very casual, and you're probably going to want to bludgeon your forehead with a brick whilst watching this. But that's what we achieve with most of our content. So the 1.5 update in AMS2 brings with it the updates that were applied to a couple of the cars in the previous 1.4 update. So now all the cars, apart from a go-kart, has the new physics applied to it. And also, as I say, we've now got the Adrenaline Pack Part 1 in the simulator, which brings a few dedicated dirt tracks to the sim, and also brings with it some rallycross cars, I think 5 rallycross cars, and 2 cross carts, a completely different class of cross kart cars for you to drive on the rallycross versions of the racetracks, and the rallycross dedicated dirt tracks. So to start things off with my comments on the actual rallycross content, I think it's actually quite a nice DLC. If you like rallycross, you do have a nice bit of content there for the 16 or so pounds. With the mixture of vehicles, it works out like less than £1 or £2 a vehicle, depending on how you divide it up, and then you get all those tracks to drive, and they're really nice versions of the tracks, rallycross versions of the tracks. So I think it's actually quite a nice DLC for those of you that are already fans of Automobilista 2, already invested into it, and just want more content for Automobilista 2. I think it's actually a great DLC. It is, of course, though, the last DLC that you'll get as part of your Insanity mega support of Reza. Those of you like me early on that are big Reza fans, if you paid £90 or £100, I can't remember what it was, for the super mega preemptive complete version of the game, you basically got all the content up until this DLC. From in the future, we'll have to buy DLC separately, and or there's a program you can join if you want to continue preemptively supporting Reza. So that's the new DLC. Nice new content there. Can't really complain about it. Good car models, nice track models. The physics updates, I think it's fair to say, they are quite substantial physics changes to the vehicles. In terms of how the vehicles drive, they do handle more predictably over the previous versions of the cars. It is generally a nicer simulator to drive. The vehicles are just more pliable. I think the cars, for the most part, a little bit more nimble, a little bit more responsive to the steering. It makes things more consistent across the board. To be honest, with AMS2 fans, AI traffic jam here, with AMS2 fans, I think they would just like anything that Reza puts out because they weren't critical from the beginning. So I have no idea of the contextual framework in which AMS2 fans are operating from. But from an external view of the simulator, and someone that plays a lot of sims, I think the new physics are generally a nice improvement. Now, I think the biggest question that a lot of you would be asking that aren't AMS2 fans or weren't a fan of the sort of AMS2 physics in general, the biggest question you'll be asking is, does it still drive like Automobilista 2 and Project Cars 2? I would say yes, it does. It does. It's improved. How you quantify that improvement, I'd say it's more pliable. You can use, there's lots of really nice custom force feedback files and things that also make it feel nicer, and the actual in-game default force feedback is perfectly workable. It's got more detailed force feedback than ACC and many other simulators. It's improved, but ultimately it still has that underbelly of Madness Engine driving to it. The new physics updates have reduced it to a degree, the sort of that amount of cheesy drift driving, that mega cheese drift driving, I think has, in fairness to Reza, has been reduced with the latest update. But at its core, you still drive and approach this in pretty much the same way as you approach, as you would approach Project Cars 2. So as a result, once you start getting faster, once you get better at driving, the sort of crux of how you drive and the slidey nature of it is still there in this simulator. Also, if you play a lot of other simulators, you know, it's hard not to make the direct comparison between this and, say, Assetto Corsa 1, which is by far the most realistic simulator on the market, AC1 and R-Factor 2. This still is very, very vague and really, really very slidey compared to AC, which has a lot of slidiness to it, but it's also way tighter, much quicker, way more responsive, and much more what you'd expect from real world tyres. The biggest aspect of AMS2 handling that I think is currently letting it down, especially for those types of people that prefer sort of AC, R-Factor 2, or the original Automobilista, the biggest aspect of the handling is one that it's really, really slidey. I'm not sure how much of that is due to just low grip levels in general, but I have a suspicion that if you could up the grip by a factor of 2, things would actually, maybe the pace of the cars, maybe other stuff would break, but the innate response of the vehicles would be a lot more in line with what you see in other sims and my experience of real world driving, though limited that it is. But so that just underlying grip levels. Then also a really big thing that's always been a problem in Automobilista 2 is that it feels as if you've always got clutch slip. when you accelerate, it feels like the rears are spinning up and rotating, wheel spin, but it's not. It feels like the drivetrain is actually slipping, which then causes the cars to feel really indirect on the throttle. And again, a bit mushy, and everything kind of just feels a bit mushy with Automobilista 2. The brakes as well. It all kind of feels very drawn out and almost like, it's almost like slow motion physics in a way. And you know, I think the update based off from the previous version of the game, this update has improved things a bit, but that fundamental sluggishness and slowness and that weird, what feels like the drivetrain slipping or the clutch slipping and the weird sluggishness to the brakes, that is all still there in this simulator. On the plus side though, I would say this is because of how controllable the cars are in slides, or most of the cars are, and because it all happens very slowly. Even in like Formula cars, whatever you're driving this, everything happens really, really slowly, and you can recover really wide slip angles without having to be super quick on the steering. You know, you can literally just boat everything around. On the plus side, I think that does make AMS2 a really, really accommodating simulator. You don't have to be really quick and really on it with your pedal and steering wheel inputs to not spin. So I think that actually makes AMS2 a way more accessible simulator for people to drive, and also means that if you've got lower end wheels, that like if you've got a DD wheel, it does so much of correction for you with driving that it allows you to drive much harder cars, much snappier cars. It makes them actually a lot easier to drive in simulators that are really snappy. Whereas if you've got a low end wheel, it makes catching in cars a lot harder than it really should be naturally. So I think that's a really nice thing with AMS2, is it actually makes it a lot easier for people on lower end equipment to be able to drive around, slide things, catch things, and just feel like a god driver, which I think is quite an enjoyable experience. When you combine that with the fact that AMS2 is a really nice package, in that it runs really nice in VR, you get all the stuff in the game, you don't have to fiddle around with it like you have to with, well, R-Factor 2 you need a degree to just launch it, and AC obviously you need content manager, shader patch, and then there's so many settings and things that are not too hard, but it's something to get your head around, and it's not in a single thing, downloading mods and stuff, you know, it's a lot to get to grips with. With AMS2, you buy the game, put your VR headset on, and you can just play the stuff in there, combined with AI that's not perfect, but apparently can go through us on that corner. I don't know what that's about. The AI is not perfect, but is actually quite drivable a lot of the time. You know, you've got quite a nice game there for a lot of people that works the same fantastically in VR. And then obviously, as I always say in videos, the ability to create online lobbies and stuff quickly that you can fill up with AI and join in with your friends is a really nice feature as well. So I do think AMS2 has its place, but my sticking point with it, and I think the sticking point for those of you that especially fans of this channel and probably enjoy the same stuff that I do, the sticking point is that when you drive this, you can't help but go, why am I not just playing Assetto Corsa where the force feedback is better, the physics are better, like the cars actually drive way more like real cars, they're not sliding around so much. You might as well just be playing Assetto Corsa at the end of the day. And AC is even more active online, so it's hard to get around that aspect of the physics in this. Though there is depth to the physics in this, it's just really bizarrely sliding. We've gone through so many different cars in this. It grates on me, that sort of Project Cars 2 handling. You can have fun with it. I'm not saying you can't. You can enjoy anything. It just grates on me. As someone that was a big fan of Project Cars 2 and played it a lot, and weirdly, when we were doing the live stream, we actually installed Project Cars 1 and drove a bunch of the cars in that. And Project Cars 1 still has the same kind of, some aspects of the handling that you find in this simulator as well, like some aspects of the braking, dislocated accelerator. But there's cars in Project Cars 1 that have artificially grippy tyres, like the grip's probably too high, which makes them more snappy, but actually makes them more in line with how the cars handle in AC, R-Factor 2, and my personal experience of being in like a Radical SR3, a Real World Aerial Atom, a Toyota Celica. I've been in some GT4 cars as well as a passenger. So no, it feels to me like the grip levels are just wrong. There's a bunch of stuff in this that's sort of Project Cars 2's stuff that it seems like Reza are struggling to actually get away from, even if they have actually improved things as much as they can do. So that's still the sticking point, I think, with MS2. I mean, if Reza can actually get past that, so you then benefit from the, you know, there's undoubtedly a lot of complexity and depth to the tyres in this. You've got a full weather system. There's a lot going on in this simulator. If they can somehow actually get it so the cars drive like actual cars, and then you can benefit from all that complexity on top of that, then that would be absolutely fantastic. But as it is, it's still in that weird sloppy zone. I'm sure the fans of the fans of AMS2 are not going to try and destroy me in the comment section. They should destroy me, but with reasonable arguments for these statements. But as I say, I'm making this video for those of you that are fans of this channel, mental subscribers that support us, you know, members of the Church of Force Feedback. I'm making this video for those of you that missed the live stream, so I don't really care what other people think or say, and how much we offend other people that are fans of this simulator. But yeah, also all told, I do think it is a really nice update. Obviously, the updates to the game are free updates. You don't need to buy the DLC. Reza do keep updating the title. They do keep adding to it. The handling has improved from the previous version of the game. I'm sure they put mental amounts of work into it. It's just the reality of driving simulators that it's so complicated. It's such a hard thing to actually get a certain result out of, and also you're sort of trapped by various aspects of technical components of the engine that you're working on. They could put, like, you know, they could work really, really hard on it, but they can only do the best they can with the current framework that they're operating within. So again, to be clear, I personally appreciate the work that all developers put into their games, but at the same time, I'm also here as a YouTuber that has a lot of experience playing lots of different simulators, driving a few real cars, to let you know what I personally think, and you can make of that as you will, and do with that as you want. But at least from my perspective, I'm being vaguely honest. So yeah, that's it. That's the rundown. If you like the buggies, give them a go. I think the buggies in AC are a lot more fun and better to drive, and you can obviously download the mod tracks for AC, dirt tracks for AC and stuff, but then they won't have the weather and stuff all in it ready to go. So that is it. That is the Automobilista 2 1.5 update rundown. Game changing. The game has changed. You may enjoy it. If you didn't particularly enjoy it before, I don't think this is enough to absolutely switch you over. If you're someone that is not too nitpicky with how cars handle, you probably will enjoy it. It might be worth trying. If you've not bought a game, you can always get it on Steam and try it for 2 hours or so, which should be enough time to, you pick one of these P1 cars, drive one of them around for an hour, and you should get an idea of if you like it or not. Good credit to Reese is that the default setups in this with the cars are actually normally fairly neutral and quite drivable on most of the vehicles. So for the most part, it's generally quite an approachable sim. And as I say, it's a very easy simulator to drive. And I think real cars should be easy to drive, but they should also be more pokey and responsive. But yeah, that is it for the rundown. Sorry for wittering on there. Thank you everyone for supporting us. Thank you everyone for watching. Until the next video, take care. Let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see. But happy tea drinking and goodbye, guys.